There's this way I used to think about the Roman Empire. That, yes, it was wicked and decadent, and we're all very sad the Republic died, but hey, don't feel too bad. The Republic was a dumpster fire anyway. It was so old, so slow, there were civil wars all the time, but after Augustus Caesar became emperor, that was Rome's golden age. But the more research I do, the more I'm convinced that, yes, the early empire was a golden age of sorts, but that doesn't mean Rome stopped being a garbage fire, especially at the top. For a regular person, being the emperor was a terrible dead-end job where nothing made sense. When the first emperor Augustus died, he left the throne to Tiberius. Tiberius, by most measures, was a pretty normal guy. He actually hated politics and was like third in line to become emperor, but everybody in front of him died, so Augustus started getting him ready.
Did you bring your wife? Yeah, like you asked. Good. Divorce her. You're marrying my daughter.
Hi.
I thought she was married. Gods, yes, to my successor, who just died.
I thought you said he was emperor material.
I actually have to go. Far away. Into exile.
What?
I'm exiling myself. Tiberius! Bye.
Augustus was forced to pick a new successor, but unfortunately his successors kept dying, and when Augustus was on his deathbed, the empire was either going to go to Tiberius, or it was gonna fall apart. Tiberius took the job reluctantly, but you know what they say, the only people you can trust with power are the ones that don't want it, right? So what did Tiberius's new job look like exactly? The job of a Roman emperor varied a lot depending on the circumstance. Some emperors led their armies in the field, some were builders, some were schemers, some were philosophers, others were artists. Tiberius's day would probably involve a lot of reading and replying to messages, maybe some meetings. He needed to be kept up to date about how the latest military campaign was going or how much tax was coming in from the provinces. Occasionally there would be trouble in the border provinces and he would ride out to check on everything once the fighting had stopped. It was pretty routine work, but that didn't stop everybody and their dog from throwing parades and building statues of him, very much to Tiberius's chagrin. But a huge part of the job that often gets overlooked is how much of an emperor's day was spent as a judge. If you read the primary accounts of Tiberius's reign, a lot of what he did was listen to people argue. Sometimes these were high-profile criminal cases, sometimes neighboring kingdoms would come to him to mediate in matters of succession. None of it was very fun, and you can start to realize why Tiberius might have felt that being the emperor was kind of a lame job. Tiberius thought he could get away with leaving the Senate in charge. Tiberius was very willing to take a back seat and run things a little more like the Republic days. A perfect example, there's a rebellion in Africa, someone has to go take care of it. Tiberius tells the Senate they get to choose which one of them will lead the fight. Except the Senate has been living under Augustus for 40 years, where Augustus does all of their work for them, and they pretty much get paid for not trying to kill him. So when Tiberius comes back into the room, the Senate tells him they still haven't done their homework, and they need Daddy Tiberius to do it for them. They're not going to vote on the issue unless Tiberius votes first, so that they can all vote the same exact way that he does. Half the time, the Senate isn't even debating anything important. Half the time, they're just starting pointless drama with each other and forcing Tiberius to take sides. Here's an actual example of what one of Tiberius's court cases looked like. This is a story about a senator named Libo. Young Libo is out with a friend one night, and his friend tells him,
You ever been to a fortune teller before? Oh yeah? That sounds fun!
Libo is dragged to the Senate and accused of seeing a fortune teller. The prosecution claims he asked her if he would be rich one day, which was definitely code for will I kill the emperor and take his job. Tiberius already knew about this, somebody had already told him, and he very clearly did not care. But the Senate was on the edge of their seats. This case was really important to them. Libo shows up in front of the Senate and is worried sick. I mean, literally, so exhausted from fear and anxiety was he that he shows up in the Senate chamber being carried in a litter. And when it's his turn to speak, he feebly rests on the arms of his brother, limps to the stand, and raises his hands to Tiberius. Tiberius, it should be noted, was so used to the Senate pulling this kind of thing that the history books explicitly describe how neutral his expression was. The evidence against Libo was essentially a diary where Libo had allegedly written suspicious marks next to Tiberius's name, and written, "Today I saw a fortune teller and asked if I would be rich enough to pave the highway with gold. I hope no one ever finds out I did that." Libo denies the allegations with the usual dramatic flair.
Can we get someone who recognizes his handwriting?
Great. Thinking, Your Majesty. We have a slave? Oh, he'll tell us everything. Objection! Slave testimony is inadmissible in court.
Oh. Well, I guess we'll never know.
Double objection! Slave testimony is admissible if you torture them first.
Is he making that up?
Triple objection! Slaves cannot testify against their masters. It's a conflict of interest. Curses!
Wait, how does that work? Couldn't you just give the slaves to somebody else to make them talk?
Your Majesty, you're a genius.
No, I'm not. No.
Prepare the rack!
Oh, God. Sorry.
Curse you, Tiberius! Curse your tyrannical rule! I'll die before I let you kill me!
But whoa, we weren't gonna kill that guy over a horoscope, were we?
Good job, everyone! We did it! We've saved the Republic!
The Senate patted themselves on the back, voted to condemn all quote-unquote magic mongers to exile, and declared the anniversary of Libo's death to be a public holiday. Believe it or not, this kind of thing happened all the time. This wasn't even the dumbest thing somebody got accused of. An aristocrat once got dragged in front of the Senate on charges of stealing a senator's seat during a gladiator fight. And I want you to know, the Senate brought their A game to every one of these cases. Because if an aristocrat was found guilty of treason, the senator who accused him got to take all of his stuff. There are whole speeches still preserved. It's like if Shakespeare could subtweet. Tiberius hated his job. Thankfully, there was one other person in his administration who was able and willing to do the Senate's job for them. The captain of the royal guard, Sejanus, was of a lower social class than most of Tiberius's administrators, but his family had served the emperor faithfully for many years. In Tiberius's own words, Sejanus was the partner in his toils of running the empire.
Sejanus, stamp this. Sejanus, read this for me. No, it's all in the wrist. Sejanus, delegate this. Yeah, this is good. We got a good system here.
As Tiberius's reign went on, he pretty much hired Sejanus to be the emperor for him, giving himself more time to read by the pool on his private island, and possibly fill the pool with hotties for wild cuddle parties. Belly flop! Probably not. Roman historians said that about every emperor they didn't like, but I guess technically he could have spent his time doing that. The Senate benefited from this arrangement in different ways. A plot twist, Sejanus was actually evil and purged all of the senators who disagreed with him.
No one can speak to Tiberius without going through me. Worship me, or your lives are forfeit.
Finally, a man we can reason with. Somebody build this man a statue.
Sure, he might have killed half the senators, but now the rest of them had someone they could actually suck up to. It's right there in the job description, suck up and bicker. If the empire was a machine, it was created with a Sejanus-shaped hole right in the middle, just waiting for someone to come along and fill it. What Tiberius failed to understand, it seems, was that all of the Senate's tomfoolery was not a bug, but a feature. Not that it was good for the empire, it very much wasn't, but Tiberius accidentally broke the system precisely because, instead of fixing it, he just acted like it wasn't corrupt. The empire only functioned with someone willing to accept and embrace the dumpster fire, which would keep the empire burning for another 1400 years. Sejanus knew it, and the Senate definitely knew it. The story goes, and take this one with a grain of salt, that years later, when Sejanus was dead and Tiberius was dying, the Senate threw a huge party to celebrate the end of Tiberius's tyranny, until all of a sudden Tiberius started feeling better. Well, the only way to suck up to Tiberius then would have been to kill everyone who was celebrating, unless they could suck up to the next guy instead.
What are you doing?
I'm smothering you.
Why?
Because you lied to us. We threw a party when we thought you were dead, and if you find out about it, you're gonna make us kill us.
Then why did you tell me?
Because I'm loyal to the Emperor!
What if you didn't have to kill you? What if instead of doing what you think I want, you do what I ask you? What if we made Rome a place that didn't need people like Sejanus?
Don't be absurd!